the destruction of the Shoni army at Fukuoka Castle, and the destruction of the Kikuchi army at Kurame Bridge. These victories had both resulted in the defeated party losing half their territory, and bending the knee to Otomo Yoshiaki. News was spreading across the land that the man who had welcomed the barbarians was no fool. His ruthlessness was cast as cunning, and his ambition as duty. He was the foremost warlord in Kyushu without doubt. To serve his clan had become a privilege, whatever one thought of the man himself. "500 precisely. Your biggest haul yet. Well, you must have heard of the battles. Very large affairs." "Way I heard it, didn't think I'd see any survivors." "What are people saying?" "That boss man got a little possessed and shot all the Kikuchi in a paddock of his own making." "That's what the sailors are thinking." "Aye, close enough. Not much nice to say about all this business, especially with the barbarians around." "I suppose I'll set them right then. We'll have plenty of time to talk. I'm going out there with them." "Oh well now, what did you do to get lumped with that? I thought you were the boss man's darling." "Yes, I think I might be, and that's why I volunteered to get away from it, if you understand me." "That's the samurai smarts you got there." "It'll only do me good if I keep my head. Same for you. If we make the other clans any angrier, you might want to get out of this line of work." "They'll want slavers as much as the boss man, don't you worry." "Well, hopefully they'll want to keep an admiral or two around as well." Hello and welcome back to Barbarian Masters, where after the surrender of the Kikuchi, the summer turns brought some bad news. First, the pirates are at it again. They're coming to attack the ship I have on the crossing between Kyushu and Honshu. That just pushes it away, and it means in theory someone could walk into Kyushu from Honshu, but right now the clan on the other side of the strait is neutral to us, so that should help keep the Uichi out at least. But the more major bad news is that our recently vassalized friend, the Kikuchi, has been immediately taken by the Sagara. They seem to be marching up from the southwest. They have all of the southwestern coast of Kyushu now. They're willing to trade with us, which is surprising considering how much they hate us, but I decided to take this since it will improve our relations and of course improve our income. However, I don't think we can rely on this going anywhere. They're hostile to us and they seem to be ambitious. It's very likely that they're going to try and take some of our territory. We happen to be in a standoff right now with their main force looking at our main force, but ours needs some time to replenish and be refitted. We need to get rid of some of our drafted troops and start recruiting superior ones. We need to get some new tech to do that, but I can recruit samurai right now, so we'll add a few of those into the force. Now those pirates went on to blockade our ports. Luckily our fleet is now quite sizable, so we can quickly dispatch the pirates, although the financial damage done can't be reversed of course. We need enough ships really to both defend our ports and keep the Uichi under constant naval blockade, because they have a big army that could land in eastern Kyushu at any time, so it's a high priority to make sure they can't. And indeed, we get something of a close call actually, because in the one turn where I didn't have them under blockade, they did move their fleet out. Luckily they moved it without the army on board, so they couldn't do anything particularly special with it, and it was actually then trapped because we came in to attack their blockade of our ports from behind, and they were completely destroyed, so that's nice. But to help out on the naval front, we're going to send out Uno Shigenobu, our inexperienced but high potential general, to go and lead our fleets as admiral. We'll build the best fleet we can for him here, and with any luck we can defend our own ports and keep the offensive on the Uichi ports going all at the same time. Now we're in the next year, after a lot of economic building, of public order management and of refitting of Yoshiaki's army, and now we can see it's not relying on drafted troops anymore. We've got trained troops across the board, a few samurai, and still all of our experienced skirmishing troops from the previous army. So a much more powerful force, and the reason it's moving out right now is the Sagara have moved away from the castle there, so there's a chance for us to take the castle belonging to the Kikuchi back over to our side and keep it as a prize, of course, for our services in avenging the Kikuchi. Now, I noticed the Sagara were at war with the Shimazu and have already lost a territory to them, and this presents an opportunity to make this not look like as much of a land grab as it really is. This, then, is our shared interest. We share interests, Lord, but this is not one of them. So you have no reason to war with Sagara after they stole your home from you? You are incorrect. I have no reason to want land stolen from me to be stolen again by a more forthright thief. That is all. You care not for the lives that would be saved by enlisting our aid? Lives are not the matter of contention, Lord. I think the matter of contention is rather that our inevitable victory over Sagara will leave me just as powerful as you. Or perhaps dead. You gamble for a chance at second place. You are persistent, which is interesting. Had you been so gracious as to visit me in Kumamoto, I might have listened. But to summon me here to demand I give you leave to tower over me is presumptuous at best and warlike at worst. Then this meeting shall end here. We both have preparations to make, it seems. And in order to show my grace, I will take your accusation of being warlike as a compliment. This is war, after all. The nice thing about North Higo is it comes with a famous Buddhist site which we can upgrade into a famous Christian site. This will make it easier to spread Christianity to both this province and the surrounding ones, so we'll certainly want to be doing that. The question in the meantime is, will the Sagara main force come back to challenge us, or will it continue on its current path south towards the Shimazu? I found out the result in the next turn by sending a missionary out to scout south and saw that the Sagara army had been recently defeated in battle. Most likely the Shimazu army is just outside of our vision range there and probably will take South Higo, so we may not be able to steal it, but there's a chance they'll go after the Sagara, chase them, and we can walk past them and steal South Higo from under their noses. For that reason I started deploying forces in that direction, but in the bottom left here you can see they quickly wipe out the Sagara. The Sagara don't run away from that engagement annoyingly, and Shimazu probably will take South Higo now as a result. They do offer an alliance at the same time. I have to buy it off them, but this is actually a pretty interesting offer. They're pretty powerful. They control the southern side of the island, so an alliance here would make our position very stable. I negotiated the price down a bit and then took it, so this should buy us quite a lot of peace if they keep to the alliance, because so much of the island can now be discounted, and so much of it's already our vassal or ally already. We're actually in a pretty stable situation. All of Kyushu is very much peaceful, which is going to benefit us, because what I want to do is turn our attention to the trade nodes. More trade nodes means more money. That's how we'll outdo the larger clans like Shimazu, and two of them are controlled by the Goto and Tanegashima, tiny clans with only one region who we may be able to overcome. But that's more of a long-term plan. In the short term, I noticed that the European Black Ship is sailing by Kyushu right now. The Black Ship is a giant Portuguese trading vessel taking goods and religion across the world, and this is our chance to intercept them, or a chance specifically for Uno Shigenobu, who's going to take a part of the force that was blockading Uichi, leaving enough ships behind to maintain the blockade, and have a look for the ship as it continues on its journey. And we did find it, and what we can actually do is just attack it. We can attempt to capture this extremely powerful naval vessel for ourselves. We are somewhat allied to the Europeans, but Uno is going to completely ignore this for his own reasons. We're going to go in for this battle. Things are going to be difficult, of course, though, because this enemy ship is extremely formidable. So we're advancing with 4 medium bunnes covered in archers and full of marines, but they are just big boxes, very easy targets for the enemy guns to sight themselves on. They're also very slow. We're going to advance from as many different directions as possible so the enemy can't hit us all. Going to try and split their attention. There are the cannons on the lower decks. Those things will rip the hulls of our ships apart, so we need to just try and take that fire and get close enough to board the enemy ship. We'll have a better chance fighting through all these sailors on the deck and hopefully can take control of the vessel. So inevitably, as we get close, the enemy starts to turn their guns on us, and we just have to sustain this fire. You can see it completely wrecks the medium bunes. A couple of shots is enough to take off half of the hull strength, and the morale of the sailors on board isn't too high, as you might imagine. Luckily, the hull strength bar isn't linear. The second half of your health bar is actually a lot bigger than the first half. So after taking a few shots, they can then take a load more after that, it seems. So we just keep sailing, keep absorbing that fire as much as we can, taking losses and hoping our morale doesn't break. That's the key thing here. We are able to hold long enough to get a ship close to the black ship, and that allows us to throw ropes over and start drawing it in for a boarding action. Our archers rather fruitlessly just firing their arrows into the hull of the ship. They're trying to hit the crew, but they can't see them, but that doesn't bother them. They'll try anyway. So as we get in close, the chance to board will become available, but that also means we can take a super close-range broadside from the enemy ship. So it's going to smash up the hull of the boat attempting to make this boarding action. But once they fired and our boat didn't sink, they're going to be in trouble. We pull ourselves in, and now a boarding action will commence. This stops the ship from firing as well, meaning our other boats can maneuver in safety. All of the crew start jumping on board slightly awkwardly, where a melee will commence. The enemy crew is massive, it's bigger than ours, but our crew's better. Our marines in particular, our samurai troops, will annihilate their sailors in melee, and most of their guys are unarmoured, whereas even our lowly Ashigaru marines are armoured to some extent. So we should be able to hack our way through them, but there's just so many, it's still not a guaranteed thing.
All hands on deck! Fight them! Kill the traitors! They are not pirates, they're flying the banner of the King of Bungo. Eastern savages can't be trusted to tell you their own name. We should have blown that Yoshiaki to pieces. All God-fearing men will fight until their last drop of blood is drained. Slay the heathens! Punish them! They will not have this ship!
As the fight continues, there's not too much we can do to help out, but we can use the abilities on the medium bune to make things a bit easier. They can do War Cry, which reduces the enemy's combat ability and their morale, and Banzai, which increases our stats and makes our troops unbreakable. So our men will just have to fight their way into the ship. A lot of the enemy's crew are stationed on decks and in areas that we can't really see, so the fight we'll just have to presume is happening inside the ship. We can see more guys down here on the bottom deck waiting to take part in the fight. So we'll just have to watch our tooltips and hope our men don't rout as they fight their way in. And even if they do, we've got more ships in position to board the enemy as soon as our ship moves away. As you can see, we didn't need to do that. We actually won with the first unit we sent in, which I did not expect. Perhaps the Banzai and the Warcry did a lot to bolster our side, because the enemy had something like 10 times our numbers when we boarded that ship, but we managed to fight through them all and won. So this is a very important victory for Uno, his first victory as Admiral, and perhaps the hardest ship he could possibly face has now been captured for our side. So it joins our fleet, it's in terrible condition. We'll need to take it back to port and give it a Japanese crew now and train them to use the guns. This is going to be extremely expensive. Presumably we'll have to get foreign experts in to help us out, and that's going to be more difficult now that we've offended all the foreigners, but hopefully we will be able to do that. And the rest of our fleet going to remain besieging the Uichi, or blockading the Uichi there. The Uichi keep building trade ships for some reason, so they're really hampering their own ability to break out of that blockade. Now we have a war declared upon us. It's the Matsuura. This is a tiny clan in the northwestern corner of Kyushu. They control North Hizen, I think. And they just suddenly declare war on us. Didn't expect this at all. Haven't really seen anything from them. I'm not going to call my allies in because I think this is going to be a one-sided conflict. We can send Yoshiaki with the main force to start walking his way up there, going through the lands of our vassal, the Shoni. Should be easy enough to find them. And Uno is going to come back to land to start recrewing the ship and, of course, to show off his new capture.
Uno!
Lord Otomo, I didn't expect to see you so soon.
I rode as fast as I could to demand the truth from you, but I see it down there for myself.
It's quite a sight, Lord.
Quite a sight. I see a broken oath that will destroy my name across the world.
My lord,
I gave my word on an arrangement with the barbarians, and you have broken it. What does this mean for us now? This deal made everything I've done possible. How can you explain your behavior?
Lord, I was scared that the rumours and foul talk among the other clans would be your undoing. Your honour would be diminished if they came to believe that the deal with the barbarians was in their favour, not ours.
So you took it upon yourself to destroy the deal?
The captives are secure. No one knows what happened, Lord. There are any number of ways they could have lent this ship to us. That is what we tell the barbarians, but the other lords, we tell them the truth. They will see that we are not bowing our heads before these foreign feet. In fact, they will see that the black ship, the floating fortress, is now ours, our conquest. They will tremble before the sight of it as our banner flies above its ramparts. They will see that it is not the Nanban, nor themselves that is truly powerful, but us, and only us. Furthermore, Lord, the ship was carrying a rich stock of matchlocks. Given their course, they were likely planning to break the deal themselves by selling these to other lords without our knowledge. Therefore, by taking the ship, we retain our advantage and acquire a rich stock of weapons without cost. And this is all to say nothing of the cannons on board the craft, cannons that I will use to destroy the Matsuura fleet gathering to the east as soon as the crew is ready. So, Lord, please forgive my forward behaviour, but it is for all these reasons that you see that ship in our port. I pray you will come to relish the sight, no matter what you decide to do with me.
Admiral Uno, I knew you were a man of talent, but such reasoning is beyond my expectation. There will be no punishment. Go and destroy the Matsuura fleet, as you say. If you are successful, I will grant you any fief you choose. And don't lose that ship.
The Matsuura have indeed put us at quite the disadvantage using their naval power. They've blockaded 2 of our ports in eastern Kyushu, so now we are bankrupt and we're not making any money, so we're going to stay bankrupt for the time being. We need to take out those fleets ASAP. And what better way to do it than to send out the black ship with a few medium bunnies to take them down. The first one was just trade ships, so that's going to be easy enough. I could just auto-resolve it. But I wanted to take a tiny look at this battle in order to experiment with the black ship and see what it could do, essentially. So here it is, newly recrewed with Japanese troops, and we've got tons of matchlock troops rather than marines, as the Portuguese had it mostly crewed. So once we get close to an enemy ship, they should be able to shoot the enemy crews to pieces. We've got some nice advantages with our high castles on top as well, and of course below decks we've got the guns ready to shoot out into the hulls of our opponents. But the guns were the thing that was confusing me in this battle. You can see I was bombarding their trade ships. We far outranged them, and because they were the defenders in this battle, they were just kind of sitting there. So we bombarded them for ages to see what would happen. And it seems that my earlier conjectures about the second part of the health bar being bigger than the first are either very, very true, or cannons just magically don't affect the second half of the health bar, because we were able to quickly reduce enemy ships to half health, but then bombarding them for ages from then on seemed to make no visible difference to their hull strength. So maybe it's something about the mod, I'm not sure. They seem to be unsinkable, and we ended up having to actually send in the medium bunnies to finish this off. With the enemy ship damaged and many of their crew killed by the earlier bombardment, they just surrendered pretty quickly when the medium bunnies moved in. But still, it was a strange thing to see the cannons losing effectiveness as the battle went on. The first couple of volleys do stuff and the rest don't, although you can still kill crew members by hitting them, and you can kill them from a very long way away, which is quite nice. Their archers firing back at me here, doing really nothing at all because we've got these shields on the side of the ship that seem to just block most of the arrows as they go for our crew, especially because they're trying to fire at the guys who are high up, so the angle is very poor for them. Anyway, we ended up winning in the end and captured one of their trade ships too, although another trade ship actually escapes from this fight, so we'll have to chase that down at some point. Lord Uno getting a level up as well, so that is nice. Now another naval action to do. I'm going to send a Bokoboya to scout out the Matsuura's home province of North Heathen and just see what we can see. And we see a full stack of troops standing just outside their castle, perhaps preparing to move out against us. I get a bit closer to blockade their ports and actually spot even more troops. They have got a big army considering their very small fief that they have here. They have a samurai school, and we saw some Naginata samurai among that second stack, so we may have to expect some decent troops to be among their number, although it's probably mostly draftees given the size of the force. Now, the Matsuura fleet that was blockading our main trade port actually comes away to attack the guys we have sitting on the crossing point between Kyushu and Honshu, and I wanted to fight this one. It's our 3 Bokuboyas versus their 3 plus a trade ship. So what we can do is try and just stay away from most of their ships and get 3 of ours to attack 1 of theirs at a time to grind them down 1 ship at a time. Didn't really work out like that as the battle got started. The enemy started sailing away from us as they got close, and then I started pursuing them, trying to get all of my ships to gang up on 1 ship but not really working because of how the formations happen to be. And I seem to have this problem where when you shoot at a Bokuboya from behind, some of the grating on the back isn't passable to arrows. You can see most of our shots are just sticking in the back of their ship, whereas they're firing at the front of our boat where the men are on a raised platform and are easier to hit. So we actually took really high losses in comparison to them just in these one-on-one battles. So that wasn't very nice. Things weren't going too well. I decided to change tactics if I could and go for boarding actions instead, because it looked like we were certainly going to lose the ranged engagement even with the enemy's trade ship not taking part in the fight at all. So going in for the boarding here, it was easy enough to set up, but it may not have actually been a very good idea. The thing to remember is we're on hard difficulty, so you lose equal engagements, and here we're sending slightly fewer marines onto the enemy ship than they have, so we're almost certainly going to lose. A bad move, that's going to result in the loss of this ship, and our morale is going to be low already because we're losing the battle, as you can see on the balance bar. So what happened after this was our ships just surrendered quite promptly, and nothing else really happened from there, ending the battle in a decisive defeat. A very big loss considering the initial balance bar on the campaign map. Probably should have auto-resolved it, but perhaps we've learned some lessons. We can take some revenge by sending the main fleet with the black ship to go and challenge the enemy, but they just ran away in this case. I could even have gone after them and perhaps just wiped them out, but I didn't want to leave the Uichi unguarded. I'm very paranoid that they could send their army to come and land in eastern Kyushu, so I'm willing to just leave the Matsuura be as long as I can keep my blockade of the Uichi going, and the Matsuura fleet actually went back to its home port. We can see it there as Yoshiaki begins to march into the Matsuura territory. He's finally arrived, so we're ready to make our attack. At the start of the next turn, though, a bit of bad news. The So and the Goto clans have both broken their trade agreements with us, so that's not going to help in terms of building our finances back up at all. I wondered why that was, perhaps related to the coming of age of Otomo Yoshishige, our faction leader's son, who is now in command down in South Bungo.
Your lord is a man who understands the nature of God, is he not?
That is correct, Lord.
And what of you? Do you understand?
Yes, Lord.
And so why have you conspired to weaken both our houses, only to the benefit of the unenlightened?
There was a rumor that your father planned to invade our island. More than a rumor. We could not
to affront the servants of the Creator in this way is to seal your doom. You will tell your lord that trade relations will recommence at once, to aid in the spread of the new wisdom to all. Tell him that, or you will find that lords of heaven and earth alike do not smile on devious men.
Our main force creeps forward. I'm trying to keep it hidden in these forests as I advance on the Matsuura, because that may cause them to leave their castle not thinking I'm coming. But you can see on the messages on the right, they actually saw me last turn, so the AI should have a good idea of what my plan actually is. It's not really going to work out. At the start of the next turn, some more bad trade news. The Mori broke their deal with us, and the Goto broke it again after having agreed to it previously. So it seems that our poor reputation, mainly coming from our religion, is causing a lot of problems. But the Goto are also Christian, and even they don't really want to trade with us, although you can see they'll take a new trade deal with us, although we can bet they'll just reject it instantly again. I wanted to try and punish them slightly by getting them to give us something in exchange for trade. They offered some tiny amount. I decided to accept it just to see what would happen, although first reversing the deal to make it look like I was giving them a deal and they accepted my terms, even though they were exactly the same. The Matsuura fleet was causing a bit of chaos, so I ended up sending our main fleet to go and bring it down, and in the auto-resolve, curiously, the black ship managed to take a load of damage, so don't know how the rest of the fleet avoided it. Maybe Uno just sent the black ship on its own to deal with all of the Matsuura, and they actually managed to overwhelm it a little bit, although we won in the end. So that's something. Now back to the main force. We haven't got the enemy to leave. They don't know we're here anymore. They didn't discover our concealed army, although they may just remember that it's there. So it looks like it's going to be a standard siege assault here. I offered them peace to see if they were thinking of not being at war with us. That is not the case, so we'll have to do something. I originally wanted to send a small group forwards to besiege the enemy, to lure them out into an ambush by trying to sally against the small sieging force. We were actually so close, as it turns out, that sending any of my units to start a siege causes our whole army to be in the siege as well. So that's that. The enemy have a full stack inside. That would be an almost impossible siege assault, so we will just have to leave it and try to siege them out the old-fashioned way. And indeed, a few turns later, they do come for the sally with their reinforcement army actually not in range, so that is nice. The enemy have lots of drafted troops who are going to be inferior to our trained Ashigaru, but they also have lots of samurai who are going to be far superior. So the question is, what is our counter to those samurai? We've got the matchlocks, which can bring down armoured troops like samurai, but in a field battle, getting a situation where the matchlocks don't just get cut to pieces by the samurai could be challenging. We'll pick up with this next time. The Sengoku Jidai was, for the warlords of Japan, a competition, and as such, none were happy to see any other player of the deadly contest start to gain an advantage. The outward stability of the Otomo clan was a cause for great hatred then, for it seemed that despite their supposedly foolish dealings with barbarians and their generally unpopular nature, they were pulling ahead of the other Kyushu clans. The breaking point for many leaders was the capture of the Black Ship, which caused major delays to the supplies of matchlocks to their own clans. It made them want the goods more than ever, since for the Otomo to have risked such a venture showed that the secret of the matchlock was worth keeping, and worth buying in blood. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and as always, thanks to the OfficiallyDevin patrons for making this video happen. I hope you'll join me to see our streak of successes turned about in the face of a betrayal in the next episode of Barbarian Masters.